It is now time to welcome
life
Leroy
as a-
Hoard to the show.
Life as a white cornerback, you know, there's one in the NFL right now.
Two.
No, it's
Plays
two.
for the Dolphins.
Two.
Who's the other one?
Riley
DeJean and Riley Moss.
Yeah.
Cooper DeJean.
Okay. Because I
Both
know,
from
Jason Sehorn blew his hammies out every weekend.
Yeah.
That's funny because that was the question I asked Dustin. I said, Dustin, I'm gonna be honest with you. You know, as a white corner, you know what a receiver's saying. They lining up and they going, right now. I don't care what the call is. Right now, fade. Right now.
I got him. Raise
Dustin
your
can
hand
run,
up.
man.
That's what he said. He said they found out that I actually was athletic and I could run and I'd stop it. So I was like, okay, what
That's
do
when you look at.
Well, it's like
Instead
Larry.
of the quarterback signaling the receiver signaling the quarterback. Go. Go. You don't know. You're supposed to run the slant. Go.
You ain't even hiding it.
I'm
They just-
telling no, you're not hiding it.
Have you ever heard Isaiah Thomas talk about how, I can't remember, maybe the first time he played against Larry? I don't know if it was the first time he played against
Larry
him.
Bird be talking
But one of
that
the first
trash.
times Isaiah Thomas played against the Celtics and Bird, he said Bird was pissed that they were putting white guys to defend him. He was offended by that. He was because the Pistons front court at that time was 3 white dudes. And he was like, Bird was like, you ain't got no black guy to defend me? He's like, what the hell's going on? He was really offended by
Man, like,
that.
I can't believe you put this dude on me like
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
Don't play me like that.
It was funny. But anyway, Leroy, obviously a lot better performance week 2 there by Deshaun. What did you think of his performance and the Browns' performance?
Can I say this?
Sure.
And I don't know if you guys agree with it, but we got to start looking at quarterbacking on a curve because it's been average everywhere. I've never seen more 20 for 30s for 145 yards than I've seen this year in the NFL.
It's crazy.
Okay, 29 for 40 for 180. Right? So I don't know what this is, but everybody tends to be looking at their quarterback going, what the hell? Because I know they ain't give Aaron Rodgers $50 million for that.
Right.
So while we sitting here, everybody getting on their quarterback, right? Should we look at just the way the position is being asked to be played at the moment? Because nobody's being asked for they had running backs who had more yards rushing than 15 quarterbacks had throwing.
It's weird.
That's unheard of. And he only had like 150. So I'm trying not to go there with any quarterback particularly, just because the overall picture with all these little short passes and get the ball out. Did nobody got any offensive line help? Can't nobody block offensive line because they trying to get the ball out of quarterback hands quickly.
You know what it is, Leroy? The defense has figured it out, man. It finally is back to where it's supposed to be. That defense wins championships. Go ahead.
I've always said this, and it's funny that I smiled after week 1 and 2 because I realized, all the teams that's running the football are having a better chance of winning. And it's funny that you could go through 100 years of football, and it always gets back to run the football, stop the run.
Telling you, Leroy, I thought about the Browns. I thought about the Browns when Deontay Foreman was in the game. I said, oh, hold on, what is this? What is you running some duo? You running some straight line stuff? All of a sudden, hey, listen, me playing defensive line, I don't, one of the most difficult things in the world to do is get off a block of a 300-pound grown man and they double team you to the next level and you got to stop them 2 or 3 times in a row and they out there running power and running zone and old school gap plays. That slow that pass rush down all the way. And I thought about you, how good the Browns looked when they actually was married to the thought of running the football.
Right. Like, whatever happened to, like, football in the last few years has gotten to this. We used to run the football to set up the pass, play action, stuff like that. And then you have your passing situations, of course. Okay? Now, all of a sudden, we going to pass the ball, and people have the audacity to say on TV, well, that quick pass is just like an outside run. No, it ain't.
No, it's not.
They ain't completing it. Right? And so they have the audacity, look at me, a football guy, and put that BS in my ear. And I'm like, no, I'm not buying it. So we look at football right now and see that the teams that are having success running the football put themselves in a better give themselves a better opportunity to win. And we can take it one step further. Y'all can keep diminishing the value of a running back and see where you end up. Because all them teams that value running backs and put a moose in their backfield and put a guy that can make plays, guess what? You know why we ain't talking about the Philly quarterback? Why we ain't talking about him? Because they run the hell out of the football and they always gonna have a chance to win unless the coach make a dumb decision.
Yeah, like he did Monday.
Right. So yeah, like I'll take my chances with that. Being in the game at the end of the game every week, yeah, you're gonna win a lot of games that way.
Leroy, let me ask you. First of all, I want to say that shirt you got on is cute. It's real cute. You know, it's gonna come. It's coming to an end.
I'm gonna wear it.
It's coming to an
I'm gonna wear
end.
it while I can. Baby.
It's coming.
Look, hey, you gonna get some Michigan stuff all the way up until Thanksgiving. That's all I'm gonna say.
But I'm gonna keep it on the Browns because I don't even want to go down that road. I'm gonna keep it on the Browns.
All right.
Last time the Browns played at home was Week 1 and they got embarrassed. Now that they're playing the Giants, what do you think that their mentality is? And people are worried that they will take the Giants lightly. Have you ever taken the team that you played lightly in the NFL?
Why? How many Super Bowls you won?
0.
Huh? How many times you been in the AFC Championship? Like, how are you taking the team lightly?
That's right.
Right? Like, no, I promise you, ain't nobody taking the New York Giants lightly. Nobody. You know why? Because there's a bunch of teams like in the middle of the pack that haven't established themselves yet that's trying to get wins any way they can. That's facts. So they can try, and people could say that because it sounds like the cute thing to say, you know? It sounds like the cute thing. Oh, the Giants are terrible. Like, I don't know why we looking ahead. Looking ahead to what?
Yeah.
You just one of those thoughts from getting beat 30-10. I don't care who you're playing. So no, I ain't buying that. I don't think anybody, and especially here. You know how you should look at it? You should look at it as, okay, maybe Deshaun could open it up a little bit because he might have a little more time. Or maybe he can get his timing right because it seemed like, I'm going to tell you with Deshaun, it just seemed like his football timing is off. Like he don't realize how much time he has or doesn't have, and he passed the ball sometime he should have just released it, and it just looks a little awkward right now. You know what I mean? So I hope that from repetition and plays and game experience that he can just get back into the flow of things. And so, yeah, I'm looking for them to come out and improve every week. I don't care who they playing. It don't matter who they playing. You think ain't nobody exempt from an L?
That's right.
Am I the only one that watched New England beat Cincinnati?
That's right.
Yeah.
You're not the only one. Hey, Leroy.
Okay. Yeah.
What do you think about, like, Amari Cooper's off to a terrible start this year? Again, I don't think it's 2 games.
I mean, when you throw for 150 yards, that's going to happen. I'm just saying. When you throw for 100, wait, let me explain. When you throw for 150 yards, don't look at the receivers and say they had bad games. You ain't throwing the ball for 150 yards.
You're right, but if you look, he's had so many drops, which is so unusual for him.
Yeah.
That's really weird. Are you concerned about it? Do you think it's just the 2 games and he'll come through it?
No, because he's Amari Cooper, one of the most short-handed receivers that we've ever seen. Here's what happens in these situations, right? You are so accustomed to him doing it,
Right.
that if he should have a misstep or drop a couple of balls, you're shocked, right? Mm-hmm. And all of a sudden, it don't mean that he falling off a cliff or nothing. He had a couple of bad plays. Like, let's just take it for that. Like, is that any different than a quarterback that goes a month without throwing a pick and then he have a game throwing 3 picks? No, bad game. It happens. We have bad days. So Amari Cooper has built enough equity in how I feel about him that I ain't go all of a sudden say any of those things you talking about. That man, look, come on. You know what I'm saying? Like, at what point in a career do we earn the right to say, oh man, he just had a tough, he'll come through though, because I know that's what kind of player he is. That's how I'm looking at Amari Cooper.
I think you're right, Leroy, but the only reason I have a tiny bit of concern is because of his age. And, when a receiver hits 31, a lot of times they go over the edge. So that's why I'm a little concerned.
Is that a, like, 31 is the...
31
like,
is
I'm confused because, can I just tell you?
Yeah.
At 32 and 33, I had 10 touchdowns each year. And everybody said I was going to fall off the cliff. I did.
Yeah.
My last 2 years, I had 20-plus touchdowns.
Not everyone's Leroy Hoard.
I didn't fall off a cliff, but I knew when that cliff was coming. Hey, when I played that last year, it was like the red light went off on the back of the truck, letting you know you getting close to the cliff. I just put it forward and drove away.
That's it.
That's it. We ain't getting no closer to that cliff.
Leroy,
No, man. I think when your team, when we look at the Browns and we look at them, and we just so used to things not working out that it's too early in the season for us to be that way, right?
Sure.
It's too early in the season. They 1-1, right? They had a bad first game. Mm-hmm. Absolutely, it was terrible. It was terrible. I didn't recognize them Browns, right? At all, because the very next week Dallas got thumped.
Yep.
At home.
Right. So at home, and wait a minute. And I didn't have that on my bingo card either. New Orleans Saints.
Yeah, right.
At all.
Right? So it's too early in the season to be trying to figure out what everybody is, because I guarantee you ain't nobody in the NFL, nobody talking about the NFL, nobody writing about the NFL thought that the New Orleans Saints were going to score 40 in consecutive weeks.
That's true.
Let's just give it a little time. I'm still curious, though, with the quarterbacking and how nobody's throwing for 200 yards. How did we get there all of a sudden when we paying these guys all the money?
Defense figured it out. That's why we got there, and I'm happy. I'm happy for it.
Leroy,
it's about time that defense figures something out.
I think everybody's so scared of their quarterback getting hit that they've come up with this system to get rid of the ball quick and put the ball in their playmakers' hands quickly. But I would say, you paying them $50 million, you could have anybody throw those little bunnies, right?
Yep.
I'm just saying.
I'm trying to find the consensus here, Leroy. I'm gonna ask everybody I see because I'm confused.
Yeah.
Week 1, they told me that Deshaun Watson had to go. He was not no good. The juice was not worth the squeeze. Sean King came on and said, "Listen, I thought I gave him a C, but I'm gonna tell you what, he was accurate. He got the ball out of his hands. He didn't have that many. He didn't have no turnovers. I thought he looked more crisp. And I think, and he also said, don't get it twisted. You might get rid of the wife you got right now, and the next one you get might not be better than the one you got. And he also said he's more talented than the 80% of the league. Now listen, that was his words, not mine. Now, what I wanted to find was, I asked my castmates, 2 good quarterbacks, Tua and Jalen Hurts. I said, would you take those 2 over Deshaun Watson? They said no. Now I'm confused, Leroy. Which is it? Is he out of here? Is he done? Or are we starting to see some things that kind of give us a little bit of pause and say, well, maybe he might still got a little something? What is it?
Again, my whole thing is his football timing got better. It looks like he's getting more on script, more timing. Everything is starting to pick up. Now, it took a little bit longer than we all thought, but then you throw some injuries, you throw some other stuff in there, and so is it. So let's just build on this, right? As far as would I take Jalen Hurts over Deshaun Watson, I would say the only reason why you would take Jalen Hurts over Deshaun Watson is his ability to run, right? Because I think at this point, passing the ball, they're both very similar.
Okay.
So that's what but as far as if Deshaun Watson starts throwing the ball, absolutely not. I'm not taking Jalen Hurts over Deshaun if he continues on this path of how he's throwing the ball. I'm not taking neither one of those quarterbacks over Tua. Okay. If your sole goal is to be accurate with the football and throw the ball with timing, there's not many better. And as simple as that. And people don't understand that. Tua came into the league with a whole bunch of these tags on him about arm not being strong, then this or this or that. I will say that, you can have some concerns about the injuries, but hell, he's played more than Deshaun Watson.
Yep, take injuries out of it.
So take injuries. I'm taking Tua first. Okay, and the only reason why I would lean towards the Eagles quarterback is because he's a little bit younger and he runs a little bit better. But as far as passing, if we all just talking about passing, I'm not taking Jalen Hurts over Deshaun Watson.
Go ahead, Mike.
This morning on Get Up, Leroy, Mel Kiper suggested that the two-high safety look. Did you see this? Is the two-high safety look is ruining football. They should ban two-high safety looks.
Stop.
I'm serious. No, this was a legit.
He out of line. He out of line.
Do you
want me to tell you why?
Well, I'm curious what you think about Mel Kiper's statement, and then if you agree that football is being ruined by this new era of
I think we're overreacting. It's been 2 weeks.
It's not. First of all,
I agree.
First of all, two-high safety is nothing new.
Mm-hmm.
Facts.
I mean, if you want to go back to when the Ravens won their Super Bowl, they did it. That's all they did because they had some dogs in front seven. Okay? If you think about all the successful defenses, the reason why they are successful is because they can play that two deep defense and do everything they need to do defensively with the front seven. So, he's talking nonsense. Okay? There's ways to beat the cover two defense. First thing you got to do to beat it is have a valid tight end. Tight end is a killer to two deep looks. And the teams that have a good tight end, you notice there's only a single safety back there. So don't change the defense, change your game.
Right.
You got to beat them. It's to say you got to beat them. And so, no, there's nothing wrong with cover two. You know how you stop cover two? Run the football. If you can run the football on that front seven, guess what's going to happen? Here come Mr. Safety. Come on down, Mr. Safety. Now you got single coverage. You got a single safety. Yeah. So there's ways to beat cover two. The problem is that everybody trying to just throw the football, and now you got his checkdowns because you got them two deep safeties. If you run the football,
Leroy, the teams, I was reading this article about, and the teams, most teams are as you said, throwing short screen passes behind the line, and that's not working. You're right. But the few teams that are being aggressive against two high safety and throwing the ball down the field are having success, but most teams are not doing that. And they're just taking those short passes and it's not working.
Let me tell you why.
Yeah.
You ready for this?
I'm ready.
Newsflash. That middle of the field with the safeties down and the linebackers back, that is a no-go zone for some quarterbacks because they're not accurate. And that's what makes Tua so special because he eats there.
Yeah.
That's where his main course is because he can throw that thing to that area, to that space with good timing and accuracy. And that's why Waddle and Tyreek Hill run across the middle of that field like that. Okay? You want to beat the two deep, you got to put pressure on the linebackers, not the safeties.
Right.
You got to get those linebackers out of there. And that's how you get them out of there with the tight end. So teams listen, the Browns run the football. They got Njoku. They can do damage to that cover too. Because you know what happened when, to be honest with you, when last year, when Coop had that 265.
Yeah.
All they did basically was they took the tight end, ran him down the middle of the field, and ran Coop on 7 routes. So you putting pressure on that one safety. But if your tight end ain't getting no pressure on him, then he just widens out.
Yeah.
So they're like, man, stop. Like that's you know what that is?
Yeah.
That's called cowardly coaching.
That's right.
If you ever go into an offensive room or a room with your as an offensive coordinator and say, you know, guys, we've been struggling against this defense, right? No, it's your job to find a way to beat it. Simple as that. You got the tools. You got a tight end who catches the ball well. You got guys who can go underneath, and you just put stress on one area of the field, whether it's the linebackers, make the linebackers run and then have somebody run underneath them, right? Or whether it's that deep safety where you have the tight end go up the middle and then run a corner route or something like that. But here's the thing. You got to have time, and you got to have a quarterback who's looking in those places.
Yeah. Leroy,
yeah, man, I'm not buying. That's garbage. When was the last time Mel Kiper played safety?
Probably never.
So, right. So, or wide receiver. Man, come on. They've been playing cover 2 since the history of football, and this is the first time I ever heard, it should be outlawed.
Yeah, it's dumb. It's dumb. Mel Kiper's lost. All right, Leroy, give us your prediction for the game. Who you got?
So here's the deal. Here's what I expect. I expect them to rely on the run, the Browns to rely on the run a little bit more. I really do. Okay? They have to take some of the pressure off Deshaun, and they have to run the ball effectively. 2nd and 7 is awesome. You know why? Because 2nd and 13 sucks when you try to run outside and you get your guy caught 3 yards in the backfield. So put Deshaun in some better situations where he can get comfortable. His timing can get well. Everybody, listen, nobody's played football this preseason. You know what you haven't done? Caught a football with people around.
Yep.
Everybody looked pretty in camp this year, catching the ball, running with the little tights on, and everybody just swinging, nobody getting hit. When they hitting for real and you really getting hit, then now you haven't had that all year. So I expect them to run the football, kind of give their defense a breather. Oh my goodness, the defense, you asking too much of them. You asking too much of your defense to say, hey, every time you come off the field, we need to stop because we only scored 14 points. So I expect them to play into the hands of their defense a little bit. Give their defense a breather. Give them a chance. Deshaun's going to keep growing. Everybody's going to keep doing their part. And I think the Browns, they're going to score, I think they scored 24-plus points this week.
That'd be huge. Thanks,
because
Leroy.
I do believe that, you know what? Y'all can say what you want about Kevin Stefanski. The guy has been on it since he got into Cleveland. He's found a way to win football games with guys who probably shouldn't have been playing quarterback, with guys who were playing a little bit of quarterback. He's found ways to win, and I expect him to do that a little this week also.